Hello, welcome back to another Tabletop Talk. So this is going to be kind of a combo video. The first part's going to be an unboxing, and the second part's going to be an explanation of what I'm using the green die for. I've had a couple people request kind of get what I'm doing there, so I didn't feel like it was important enough to do a full video, but I'm always willing to share what I'm doing. So we'll open up this box, and then I'll go over real quick what I'm doing. Again, a little bit more of a hybrid with the basic. Not really a hybrid, really, because it's not advanced much. But at any rate, I'll show, for those who are curious, what I'm doing with that green die if you've watched the video. So anyway, last week I did a video with Tebow about finishing projects, and I'd mentioned about how that it's easier to finish projects for me when I'm not getting something new, because sometimes the excitement of something new kind of throws me off of my game with whatever project I'm doing, and here I am with something new. So it's a sickness. What can I say? So without further ado, let's open it up. And this one's a little unusual, and I'll show. I think, but we'll open it up and talk about it a little bit before I show you what I'm doing with the green die, for those who are interested in my APBA craziness. So again, I haven't sharpened my knife, so it's still as dull as it was the last time I opened something. I keep talking about how I'm going to do that and then keep not doing it. So as you can see, we have an authentic unboxing for those who are conscious of such things. Probably more dangerous with a dull knife, I would say. All right. So what I got is, and this is probably not a real a real brain teaser for those who are following the channel, but I got another season of APBA baseball. This is 1995, and a big thank you to the person who sold this to me. So what's unusual about this is the extra players. So they were from two different time periods, and so I don't think it's your typical extra players. So we'll look at Atlanta here. They were very good in 95. I think that was the year they won the World Series, perhaps. So yeah, we're going to have to zoom in closer to this if we're going to look at the cards now, aren't we? So bear with me here a sec. The cards are the stars. So we've got to zoom in on the stars. In fact, I don't think that's going to be good enough. There you go. How's that? That's a little better. All right. Oh, much better. All right. So the 95 is dated 2016. The extra players are dated 2011. This was reissued or recreated in 2010. So I think that these are all the same. And I know that the fella I sold these from counted it up, and there was actually more players. So I'm wondering if the 95 doesn't need the extra players, but I'm not for sure. So let's look and see if Sharperson is in here. That would be the first thing. He is not. So let's look at one more, maybe Kevin May, because I know some of the older seasons you don't. There's Greg Maddux, an A and a C. Boy, you don't see that too often outside of dead ball era, do you? With a ZZ and an X. So I imagine I know that when you have these guys that only walks, 10 people and 200 innings, I know Strat, which is my main game, has trouble with that sometimes. I'd say that ZZ probably go a long way to get you closer to that. But yeah, so don't look like those extra players are in here. But let me count how many's here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Okay, so I noticed that in here there's some people who didn't play very much. Now these three guys aren't in the mix, but I know like I saw like 13 at bats. So Sharperson has 7 at bats, and these other two guys are pitchers, 4 innings and 3 innings. Here I'm going to look at Baseball Reference here real quick. So I know, like, if you want to buy the 1995 season now, it looks like I think everything from 91 on has the extra players are extra, and like 90 and before, it looks like even the seasons that have every player carded are included. So that, the best I can tell, that's kind of how it is. So let's look at the Braves here. So they had 40 players total that played. So that's it. I forget what I counted there, but that wasn't everybody. So it looks like so Sharperson had 7 and Eddie Perez had 13. Those were the two lowest guys on the hitting. And Sharperson, again, he was the only one that wasn't in this group. And then Giovanello, I should know his name. Okay, he's in here. He's the third lowest. So it looks like let's see if Kowitz is in here. Yeah, he is. So let's look at the pitchers. So you got Thoby is the lowest, and then Terry Clark. Oh, there's Wade. There's another one there. Wade. So there is no Wade. Terrell Wade. He pitched 4 innings. That's interesting. Oh, no, there he is. Hello. So you got Clark. Did I see Clark? Terry Clark, he had 3.2 innings. I'm not seeing him. So at any rate, I think with this set, I could buy the Clark. He might have been a 2-player team or 2-team player. Yes, he was. So he's at Baltimore. So that's probably why his card's not there. So at any rate, we're about down to the nitty-gritty. If there's a player or two missing, I could always go to Steve's APBA card creator and make them. And then, of course, this is probably might hurt the value, but I don't care. I always round the corners of these extra players. So they're where they belong. See how much nicer that looks? So anyway, I'll do that with the other ones there. I typically do that over the garbage can so I don't make a mess, but I had to do it for a visual to explain what was going on. So So anyway, looks like I'm in set for 95. 94 was the first year that they did broke up into 3 divisions. However, there was a strike that year, so this is the first completed year where they did all 3 divisions, or they broke up into 3 divisions from the 2 divisions that I knew growing up. So at any rate, very cool. Cards look great. They're in great shape. And like I said, I'm sure we're down to the nitty gritty. So there's probably everybody here. And again, these are just they're not the same as these, but I'm sure they'll work fine. Again, if I get too crazy about it, I can always go buy that set. I think it's like $25 maybe for the updated set, but I'm sure those will work fine. So there you have it, 1995 in the fold. Big Greg Maddux fan. That card looked pretty cool, so I might have to find myself playing that and being distracted once again. So let me talk now a little bit about what I'm doing, and it's very simple. So the first thing is on strikeouts. I'm using this green die to do strikeouts and also to redirect the ball when it's hit sometimes. So and it's not an exact science, but again, it's just what I do, and if it's adds something to your gaming play, great. So I looked it up, and a strikeout looking is about 25% of the time. So I started doing a 1 or a 2 is strikeout looking, but that's just a little too high, so the OCD in me wouldn't let me buy with that. So what I do, if it's a 1, it's looking. If it's a 3 or higher, it's swinging. If it's a 2, then the red die is split in half. So 1, 2, and 3, it's looking. 4, 5, and 6, it's swinging. So basically, 1 is looking, 2, 1, 2, 3 on the red is looking, and then from 2, 4, 5, and 6, all the way through the rest of the die is swinging. So that gets you roughly about 25% of the time they're out looking. And so that's how I do that. And again, that just helps it visualize it in my mind. The other thing I'm doing is like where the ball's hit. So now if it's hit, those of you who are familiar with APBA know that certain numbers are attributed to certain positions. So like if it's a 30, it's the left fielder, 31's the center fielder, actually 16. Now these are error checks. This is usually just kind of where it's hit. There is some difference in runner advancement, but usually it's not major. But at any rate, these numbers are attributed to these positions. So when that happens, I don't change anything. It doesn't matter if it's a left-handed hitter or right-handed hitter. I leave those alone. However, on the results chart, like, for example, on 12, it's always a ground ball to third. And then on 35, it's always a ground ball to first. And so that was bothering me a little bit because I was getting a lot of ground balls to first with right-handed pull hitters. And so what I've done, and again, when I roll the die, I always roll the green die with it. So this is not taking me any extra rolls. All I got to do is look at it and know what I got in my head, what I've got planned. So on those 2 results especially, so let's say I roll a 12. If it's a right-handed hitter, I don't change it. I leave it alone. If it's a left-handed hitter, then if it's a 1, 2, or 3, I change it to the opposite, which would be a ground ball to first. If it's a 4, 5, or 6, I leave it alone. Now, the only exception to that is, and again, this is probably nitpicking people more than in others. So, like if they're a SA, which means they're a spray hitter, it's 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, or 3. I change it. 4, 5, or 6, it still stays grounded out to third. So Klesko is a left-handed hitter. If he rolls a 12, then if I get a 1, 2, or 3 on the green die, it becomes a ground ball to first. 4 or 5 or 6, it stays. Now, some hitters are rated as a pull hitter, like Javi Lopez here. On a pull hitter, I change it if it's a 1, 2, 3, or 4. So basically, instead of 1, 2, or 3, changing it, a 1, 2, 3, or 4 will change it. And again, I understand that this, for most people, you're scratching your head, figuring why in the world would you do this. So this is something that I've added that adds a little bit more realism to the ball placement for me. And again, in my head, it's just I roll the die with these two, and it's no extra work for me. But just sharing if this is something you're interested in. If not, I get it. So like Javi Lopez, he's a right-handed hitter. So let's say we get the so if I get a 12, I don't change it because he's a right-handed hitter. If I get a 35, however, with him being a pull hitter, a 1, 2, 3, or 4, because he's a pull hitter, we'll change it to a ground ball to third, which is the opposite. 5 or 6, it's still a ground ball to first. Now, again, these are situations where usually bases is empty and it's not changing anything. Another place I do that is on the 7. A 7 is always a single to right where the base is empty. So left-handed hitter, I don't change it. If it's a right-handed hitter, the same thing. If it's a 1, 2, or 3 for a spray hitter, then it's a single to left. If it's a pull right-handed hitter, then 1, 2, 3, or 4 changes it. So again, pull hitters are going to hit the ball to their pull side more. So I make a 1, 2, 3, or 4 for pull hitters. So if Javi Lopez, a right-handed pull hitter, got a 7, a single to right, then a 5 or 6, it would still be to right. 1, 2, 3, or 4, it would be a single to left. So I just change it to the opposite. Same thing on a double to right center. If it's a left-handed hitter, I don't change it. If it's a right-handed hitter, 1, 2, or 3, if they're a spray hitter, it goes to left center. 1, 2, 3, or 4, it goes to right center. So those are the things that I do. Now, like, for example, on the 8, I don't typically do that much because 8 is an out on the B and the A. So, again, those are the ones that I do it pretty much all the time. And so, again, if it's, if the number is tied to a position, I don't change it. So even when I get like with the guys on first, most of it's with the bases empty. But even on first, there's some results that's always to right. And so again, I will change it, but it's usually the base. It's actually the base is empty is the big one. But 7 on runners on second is always a single to right. The runner scores. So again, on that particular one with the runner on second, I would change that to left if it's a 1, 2, or 3. If they're a spray hitter, right-handed hitter. If they're a right-handed pull hitter, 1, 2, 3, or 4 would change it to a single to left. So that's basically it. So that gives me my strikeouts. It lets me know, if it's looking or swinging. And then these ones where it just felt like that it was, again, way too many right-handers were grounding out to first for my taste. And again, there's no historical data. It's just how it felt to me. And then so those kind of results, I will, make those changes. So simple as that. Again, that probably bored to tears most people, but I got a couple requests for it. So before we go, let's look at the Reds. I know the Reds had a pretty good team this year, I believe. Let's look here. Let's just not speculate. I got Baseball Reference. Yeah, they won the division, and they actually beat the Dodgers in the division series. And then they made it all the way to the NLCS. Boy, I don't remember this. I should remember that. I don't know why I don't. Got beat by the Braves 4-0. That was 95. So, So they 85 games. Okay, so yeah, I that was a shortened year too because of the strike from 94. They started the year late. Yeah, I remember that now. that could have been why. That strike really made me feel pretty crappy. But yeah, they only played 144 games, looks like, in 95. So the Reds had the second best record in the National League behind the Braves. So let's see. Let's look at baseball. Let's say Hal Morris. Looks like Ron Gant. Yeah, Reggie Sanders had a good year. Barry Larkin, the Hall of Famer, he had a pretty good year. Pitching-wise, they had Pete Shurik, John Smiley. They had Jose Rijo still, but he was kind of faltering at that point. Jeff Brantley, who I think is still doing their play-by-play, was their closer. So you can see that. So the cards are excellent. And thankfully, again, I've talked about this before. Some people don't seem to have a problem with it, but a lot of the cards they do a crappy job edging these. And again, the owner of APBA talks about how they're the Tiffany, the blue box of the industry, and their prices reflect that. So I have a problem when they can't do something as simple as getting the corners rounded right. And I've got a couple sets, especially in football, where they just did a horrible job. It just looks, I could have done much better. But thankfully, this looks like it's good. And usually, the further down the alphabet, the worse it is. So let me see if I can find somebody down the line. Let's look at San Francisco. Yeah, those are good. So these are rounded. These are rounded excellent. So, in my humble opinion, with the kind of prices we're paying, which I don't mind paying for the quality, that you need to get those corners rounded properly. That really bugs me. Not to the point where I have sent them back yet, but I've thought about it, because it's, again, the prices we're paying. It's not too much to expect these corners to be rounded properly, but I digress. So anyway, if you have any questions about that, about what I'm doing with that, and again, I know most people won't care, which is fine, but those who do, and I understand. I also enjoy seeing what other guys are doing, and it may or may not be something I want to incorporate, but I still like seeing it. So again, those of you who might be wanting a little bit more realism in your strikeouts, stuff like that helps me to visualize the game. And so that was just something I came up with. Again, bugging me, those right-handers grounding to first that much and the left-handers grounding to third that much. And, it takes a little bit more of the master into play, the spray hitters as opposed to the pull hitters, by going to 4 instead of 3, to changing it to the opposite side where they would be pulling the ball. So at any rate, if you have any questions, if that wasn't clear, feel free to ask in the comments. And if this is something that interests you and you put it into play, definitely share that. I enjoy I enjoy sharing, and it's also great when I motivate people to get out and play. When you guys make comments about, how, hey, I was motivated to get my season out, or start working on my replay again, or if it gives you enough information that you feel like it's a product you would like to buy, and you're having fun with it and enjoying it, that's really cool. That makes doing this that much funner. So any of that stuff, feel free to share. Even if it's something you're not interested in, feel free to share that. Everybody does things differently, and that's perfectly acceptable. But, again, I was requested to share that, so I thought showing off my new 95 set would be a nice 1-2 punch to make this video worth putting out. So, anyway, I appreciate it very much, and I'll see you next time.